Hello again. We're running. Yes, we are. Hi there. Today I'm going to talk about colour perspective, and I think we're all fairly familiar with perspective and what it means, just translating a 3D surface, a 3D image and capturing the depth onto a 2D surface, a page, a paper, a canvas, a board, whatever. So it's quite a challenge, and I think we're all fairly familiar with the idea that there's more detail and things are in sharper focus when they're close, and they're bigger when they're close up, and they're smaller when they're farther away. Brings Father Ted to mind, trying to explain it to Dougal. And but today I really want to concentrate on colour, how colour can help us. It's a great tool, and it can really help us to create perspective regardless of other shapes. And it also very much applies if you're doing, say, abstract paintings or still life, or something where there's perspective but not lots of perspective, or or if you're doing a flat painting and you want colours to pop out and some to recede. This is where you need this. So you can use it in lots of different ways, for traditional perspective and landscape, but also for abstract paintings. And just to maybe illustrate colours that pop out before I kind of ramble on about a bit of theory, I don't want to bore you, is that having done the colour wheel, warm colours tend to pop out. They tend to be propelled forward. So here this yellowy, orangey, burnty colour is just popping out. And even though this is quite a warm colour, the red, it's receding because it's cooler than the yellow. Similarly here, this yellow and oranges are popping out, even though Sean Scully has played a bit messing with our heads. He's pushed it back so it creates a kind of a tunnel. If you get rid of that, you can really see how it pops out, and the green sits further back. But he's plays with stripes in such a way that it kind of distorts things, which is quite clever. But that's generally, it's a rule of thumb. It's something you can play with, but it will help you. Here's another painting, Corot, one of the Impressionists. And you can just see where in the foreground, lovely warm colours, those lovely red oranges, and also deeper tones tend to pop out. So he has the deeper tones here in the foreground and the middle ground. By the way, the bottom of a painting is the foreground, this is the background, and this is the middle ground. Right foreground, left foreground, and so on. So he's absolutely used this here to his advantage with colour, and now he's made things get smaller as they go back, which is okay, what you would do to create perspective in your sort of drawing. But using the colour, he's faded out this blue. It's not a sharp blue, there's a lot of white in it. It's kind of a grey blue. It's not a sharp primary blue. Same here, it's kind of a grey purpley colour. Lots of interesting mixes in there. And that will help you push the sky back if you want to, or whatever you're putting. This is a photograph just to prove it's not just in paint. It also happens with the camera. These are mountains, snowy mountains, and you can see the foreground is much sharper. There's lovely yellows there. And you also know that if you were to swim or sail across this water here and land on the other side, this would be the same as this. But we see it as sort of a brownie. It's more faded, it's duller. But it is the same vegetation. And similarly, the sky in the camera is faded out because it's just further away than the blue of the water here, which is reflecting the same sky. It's closer. So that's how our eye works. And I'd encourage you to just walk outside or even look out the window and say you have a tree, an ash tree, close to you, for example, or a car or something. You know that the green of that ash tree, and let's say there's another ash tree a quarter of a mile away and you can see the shape of it in the distance, but you cannot see the green. You know it's green, and it's a kind of a grey, greeny, dark colour. Slightly faded out, muted, and neutralised kind of a green. Whereas when it's close, it's really sharp. The green is sharp. And if you look at the ground and there's grass or plants, you can see all the different greens and all the different tones and shades and hues. You'll see lots of greens, the 40 shades right there. Whereas in the distance, you see these neutralised, and that applies to everything. The colours get neutralised. A red car close up to you is going to look way different when it's 100 metres away. It's going to be kind of a dull red. You may figure out it's red, but it won't be sharp. So It's that loss of sharpness that you want to capture in a painting if you want perspective. So I'm not actually going to paint today because this took say 10 minutes to do and it would eat up the whole YouTube time. So I painted this, and what I was attempting to do, sorry, this is upside down now, I was playing around here, things are falling apart here. So I was putting the warm yellows to the fore, and I'll bring it up a little bit closer. So I was using these warm colours, and remember on the colour wheel, the warm colours, yellow is the warmest and blue is the coolest. So these colours are warm, yellow, orange and red. Red isn't very warm, it's somewhere in the middle. And the green, blue, green has a lot of blue in it. These are the coolest, and this is cool. This maroon here, sometimes it can be more a deep purple. They tend to be cool. Anything with a lot of blue will be cool, anything with a lot of yellow will be warm. So this one, this is very crude, very simple. It's just an exercise to show you how colour creates perspective. These are very bland shapes. I vaguely did sort of hilly, mountainy things. Very quickly. So the bottom is blue and yellow, but mostly yellow. And just kept adding a little bit more blue as I went back, as I went towards the background of the painting. And it takes your eye back and gives a sense that you're travelling back. This is further away and this is closer. Just for the fun of it, I'll turn it upside down, just to prove. So now, they're the same kind of shapes, but these do not look at all like hills because they're just don't work. They don't make the foreground work. They're too neutral, those colours. They're faded out, they've got some white in them. And the yellow pops forward on the top. So as a landscape, this combination this way wouldn't work. Whereas this way, it does. Now this one was the same. It was the other half of this page. And so I was working along with it all together until I got to the very background. And I decided just to show you the effect that the dark colour, the deeper tone at the background, the effect it has. It completely messes up that sense of depth. So you know that the deep, dark, heavy tones actually pop out. So they're good in the foreground actually if you want to make an outline or show up an object. They work very well. But they don't take your eye back, they pop out. So for the fun, we'll turn it upside down. And it sort of works upside down. That sort of illustrates the point that those heavy, saturated, dark tones come forward. This is a little bit more neutralised. It's got a little bit of white in it, so it goes back. And then we run into trouble here a little bit because they're a little bit too sharp they pop out again. So, so you can really see the difference there. As you go back, you go from warm to cool. That can be one tool. And the other one is you fade out your colours, you neutralise them, you mix them more and add a little white. And that will just make them more neutral and you'll travel back. Whereas this one does not work so well. So that's just a tip on colour perspective, on how colour will help you to push colours back or to pull them forward, regardless of whether it's a landscape or an abstract painting. And that's essentially what I wanted to talk about today. And it's a fun thing to go play with. I would encourage you to just paint stripes and just see the colours, mix a bunch of colours, 5 or 6, and do one without white and then add whites to them and mix and match and see which pop out and which go back. And then you'll know, well, these colours are the ones I'll use for far away and these ones are for close up. I start to sound like Father Ted again. And that's it for now. And all the best. Good luck.